Mr. Jackson, hello. First off, thank you very much for joining me today.
No worries.
We're on a lovely couch here in Box Hill Institute. Very lovely. And within, I'd say recent, but it's not the most recent thing in the world. This is like a post-release interview of your band just releasing your first live EP. How's the reception been so far?
I think it's been pretty good, actually. I think, after quite a break of not kind of putting anything onto the social media, I feel like it's, we got a lot of feedback, and I think that's really good.
So if we could, we'll talk about the release of the EP and the recording of that show. But if you can take me back to the beginning, how did you get involved with Strawberry Lipstick?
Well, I've kind of come from this, I think I was kind of one of the last cogs in the machine, I guess. I was just approached by Parker and Ben about potentially playing keys in their punk band. And, I guess it's kind of, I've come at this from a different musical background. So I kind of got involved in I kind of sidestepped.
What you use the word just there, sidestep. What did you sidestep from? What is your musical background?
I guess I'm more into more rock music. It's kind of like a brother to punk music, but I've definitely been more influenced by, I guess, classic rock sounds, folk rock, blues, that kind of stuff. I like a lot of Americana and West Coast kind of sounding music. So I have a lot of influences, but punk definitely wasn't one of them. In saying that, it's been a really exciting opportunity for me to play keys in this band and contribute in a kind of like an atmosphere that I've, never really considered before.
Do you find there's room and do you have opportunity to bring those kind of unconventional influences into the music?
I do think so. Maybe not in the most kind of arrogant way, but I think that there's some subtle differences that we have when you compare us to other punk bands. I think I've really been able to be very experimental with synthesizer technology. That's really cool. I feel like maybe we're an alternative punk band with a bit of kind of synth wave thrown in. I think there's room to make some melodic punk music, but I do think we also just have our songs that are just very just thrash punk. So it's nice to kind of have two sides of the same coin, I think.
Before recording Bloodbath Bazaar at a show that you guys organised, put on here at Box Hill or at least in the area, I'm not sure. Was it actually at
here?
Yeah,
it was just in the venue at Box Hill.
Oh, okay, sick. So just down down around the corner from where we're recording this. Before that, had you had a lot of opportunity to play a lot of live music? Obviously, live music kind of took a halt for a period of time there, but did you get a chance to play a lot of gigs before playing with Bloodbath Bazaar?
That was actually our first gig as a band. Personally, I've done lots of gigging, not as much with other people though, so it's a great experience to play with other people. Can get a bit lonely when you're kind of by yourself or with maybe a duo or something. It was interesting coming into this band, discussing it with more notably Parker and Oak, because they didn't really have a lot of experience with live performing. I've had that for about, 10 or 20 years. So it's natural to me, it's second nature. And I think, that's kind of nice to be immersed in a kind of a new kind of band that's just kind of, starting out like a bubby band. I feel like there's a lot of room to grow as a whole, but it's also great for me because, like I say, I've had experience, but it's really different when you're playing with other people and the interaction on stage is different. And the nature of our band's pretty jammy, I think. So, whether it's spontaneity or the occasional mistake, there's always that sense of kind of don't know what to expect next on stage, which is pretty fun.
What was it like to perform in that punk space? You know, you said you're not the most, you haven't done heaps of punk stuff in the background. I know rock is the cousin of punk, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But what was it like to be able to play on stage with other people? How did it feel?
It was very freeing, actually. I think my part in the band is probably I know your Joker card, but yeah, I feel like I had a lot of freedom because there's just so much energy when you're playing that kind of music. Even if there are differences, I think that the core fundamentals of punk were still there. Really high energy, a lot of, really cool kind of graphic and explicit kind of lyrics. And I think for me, I'm able to kind of push what I want to do with synthesizer and keyboard playing to a space that's even more aggressive and kind of experimental, I guess. I've never really been in a space where I'm not as like conscious of making mistakes. It's more about just really being creative and getting that kind of that experimentation across.
You mentioned earlier you feel maybe like I believe the phrase used, like a bit of a smaller cog in that machine, and it's different. And we were talking a little bit before, since the release of this EP. So this EP gets released and there's 4 people in the band. Now since then you've added Josh on bass. How has adding a bass into the band kind of changed your role? Because when I think of a keyboardist in a band, when there isn't a bass section, the keyboard kind of takes the low end. But now that you've got an instrument dedicated to the low end, how have you felt your role has kind of shifted in the band?
Well, the way that I play keyboard is a little bit alternative. A lot of the time I'll be taking more of an approach like a lead guitarist would. So a lot of the time I'm not actually playing too much at the low end. I did have a couple of songs where I was doing some keyboard bass to fill out for when we didn't have a bassist, but it was only for a couple songs, and I think having Josh there really just adds a like his bass playing is really aggressive and it's really cool. And I think what I was doing was kind of interesting. It could be a feature for songs here or there. It's that typical synth bassy kind of sound. But the thing that I feel that makes my part the most unique is the synthesizer / kind of MIDI guitar kind of stuff that I do on the keyboard. So I play around with a lot of distortion and effects, and I use a lot of pitch bend and get my sound to be quite different from a keyboard. I have definitely had people come up to me and they don't really understand that sound comes out of the keyboard, which is really cool to me. I'm really trying to make carve a really different sound in the music.
How have you found the response to the EP release has been? We're a couple weeks, I think maybe a couple months removed from it coming out.
I haven't been as active with the kind of, the social media, the marketing side of Strawberry Lipstick. But from what I gather, there's been a lot of great feedback online, and I haven't really run into many people in person that have given me any personal feedback. But the response online looks really good. I was impressed when I saw the kind of numbers we were getting with streams and kind of views on Facebook and whatnot.
So is the next step for you guys to a non-live EP, a studio EP?
Yeah, I think so. We've recorded a bunch of stuff recently, and I feel like, we might do a little bit of tweaking here or there, but we've essentially got about 6 songs ready to go to release, essentially. I think that, you always have that kind of that post period where you might add things here or there, but we did some great recording a weekend or so ago, so I'm hoping maybe sometime a bit later in the year or whenever we can kind of get it together. But that's definitely in the kind of, we're looking ahead to that.
Awesome. Jackson, thank you so much for your time.
No worries.